Welcome. It's Indisputable. Got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, we have the honor of having Maz Jobrani, comedian extraordinaire, fascinating mind. Going to be a hell of a program. All right. First story of the day. Well, racist graffiti found on church prior to being burned down. Police, they're like, yeah, what's the big deal? Put it up full mass. Authorities in Paris, Texas are investigating a suspicious fire. This fire happened last week. It destroyed a black church. You may not have heard of this. That church, according to the report, had been spray painted with racial slurs before it went up in flames. Typically, you would call that motive. Now, officials have remained silent after the September 29th blaze, prompting some community members to doubt their commitment to do a thorough investigation. At least one civil rights activist raised concerns that city leaders may prioritize preserving the city's low-key reputation over addressing the real issues at hand, including ongoing racial discord. The church is called Love Tabernacle. A single-story wood-framed structure was fully engulfed when the Paris Fire Department arrived on scene at about 11:15 p.m. and put the hoses on the flames. By then, however, it was already too late. The building, which has stood for 3 years at the corner of Center Street and 13th Northeast, was reduced to ashes. Photos of the graffiti were sent to the Paris fire marshal, who arrived a short time later to inspect the scene. The Texas State Fire Marshal's office was also called in to assist the investigation. Meanwhile, Paris Police Captain Terry Bull pointed out that the fire department was handling the investigation without any input from his detectives for potential criminal charges. Now, here's the foul, right? You have, obviously, an individual or group of individuals who have established that they have an issue with Black people going to church, okay? They literally wrote it down for the police and obviously the churchgoers. A few days later, church gets burned down. Police department, they're not leading the investigation. They are allowing the fire department to lead a criminal investigation that could have created the circumstance where life would be damaged or destroyed. Doesn't matter. I have never heard of the fire department leading the criminal investigation that the police have jurisdiction to lead. Elsewhere, Pastor Tristan Love said his ministry had been at that current location since 2021, and that services will continue temporarily in Cooper, Texas, until further notice. No one was in the building at the time of the inferno. No casualties have been reported. State and local authorities are still investigating, but no further details were released. The marshals have not said whether they suspect arson. Local activists urged those in charge of the investigation to pursue hate crime charges, but police have yet to identify any suspects while facing immediate criticism from the Black community. Quote, "I've been doing this for over 20 years, and things don't get better because they're not addressed. They're glossing or glossed over or hidden," said Brenda Cherry, a rights advocate in Paris. That's according to News 12. Quote, "I've not known of a Black church being burned before, not in this area. But racist graffiti, that's a common thing. Cherry added that she was confused over why anyone would want to target a spiritual sanctuary. Quote, "It's where people go to worship," said Cherry. "Nobody comes here to do anything wrong. So why would anyone burn down a church? Why would anyone write racist graffiti on a church? You don't do that," Cherry expressed doubt in local authorities' ability to determine if the fire was racially motivated, suggesting city leaders have downplayed similar controversies before. She's asking the right questions. I would submit that they don't respect your humanity. How would they ever come to respect your right to assemble, religious expression? There's more. City officials, they need to address stuff like this, not be afraid that it's going to lead to racial tension, because we already have that, she said. They need to do better. Racist or racial attacks on Black churches have a long history dating back to the early 19th century, with hundreds of cases involving arson, bombings, murders, hate crimes, often carried out by white supremacists and domestic extremists. Black church burnings, a signature some decades ago of the KKK. There's typically a cause and effect to where they don't like something, the white supremacists don't like something that the Black community or a Black leader or a Black church has done. This is because of their, privilege, typically. Moss, what are your thoughts here, dear brother?
Well, it is from the outside looking at what happened, it's such a no-brainer that obviously this needs to be investigated. And I think what's happened is, and it continues to happen, is these people have been emboldened. Because what happens when you go and you put your signature on your racism, and you put your signature on your crime, and the police department says, "Oh, we're not going to investigate. We'll let the fire department investigate it." Well, now the police department is an accomplice to that crime, because similar to what happened on January 6th, when they stormed the Capitol, and they'd been emboldened to do this because they thought, or they claimed that they had the right to do it. And then you have people like your Mitch McConnells, your Lindsey Grahams, and others who come out the next day and they say this was wrong, and then 2 days later they're kissing the ring, and they don't want to upset their racist base who wants to be racist, who has that white privilege, as you said. Being somebody who's from the Middle East originally, I was born in Iran. I found it interesting on January 6th when they stormed the Capitol, and I was watching and I go, "Oh wow, they got terrorists too." And then I quickly realized that their terrorists are called patriots, and then they were called hostages and warriors and martyrs and whatever else they want to call them. And so these people have been emboldened from the top down. You see, when you get somebody like Donald Trump emboldening these people, you will have them end Charlottesville saying Jews will not replace us, carrying torches, and then being called good people on both sides. So similar, we have that situation here where this police department obviously is saying, "Hey, we're not going to investigate it because why? What's the reason? We feel it's arson, but what, how, who?" But the guy wrote a racial slur on the thing before he burned it down. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And again, it's been they've been emboldened from the top down, and then they become an accomplice to that crime. So really, I think pressure needs to be put on that police department and on that county to get involved and investigate and find out who set this fire, and then prosecute them.
Very well said, dear brother. And I have to submit, don't ignore the fact that technically that police department will investigate a lost dog report. And they have decided not to even do the technical thing, which is to open up an investigation. That part. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. Family of a teen shooter sued because they ignored dangerous, and racist behavior. Put up the picture full mass. This is going to make your blood boil. A lawsuit has alleged that a 15-year-old white teen freely showed off weapons before killing 5 people, including a Black woman who was shot 34 times. She was shot more than all of the other victims combined. Austin Thompson was charged after allegedly shooting 5 people to death and injuring 2 others in the Hedingham neighborhood just east of Raleigh on October 13th, 2022. He was 15 at the time, okay? The families of the victims filed a 162-page lawsuit against Thompson's parents, the Neighborhood Homeowners Association, and a private community police force, claiming that those parties knew the teen had a history of antisocial, racist, aggressive, and violent comments and behaviors before the deadly shooting. That was quoted in CBS 17. Now there's more. The lengthy suit reportedly details multiple complaints neighbors made to the HOA about Thompson, reporting him as aggressive, creepy, and off. It also includes 2 instances when the teenager used racial slurs. Plaintiffs mentioned that Thompson encountered one of his alleged victims, Nicole Connors, days before the shooting. Connors, a 52-year-old Black woman who had also reportedly complained about Thompson's behavior, was shot 34 times. Once again, more than all the other victims combined. Suit alleges that the private law enforcement group hired to monitor the community took no actions after receiving calls about gunfire in the neighborhood on the day of the shooting. The group is accused of making no efforts to stop the spree, locate Thompson, and inform Raleigh police about the incident in a timely manner. Now, let me explain this private police force. If you do a little bit of Google research, you will find that HOAs across America, they have these private police departments. And many times these individuals are actual cops, post-certified. They have arrest powers and they live in that community. They patrol that community. And if you have an issue, you call them and they come and, well, do nothing, obviously. So the private police force, once they're sanctioned by the HOA, depending on jurisdiction, they have a working relationship with the actual police department, to where these things may seem ridiculous and extreme and like a cover-up, but they have a level of allowance to do these things by way or consent of that community or the HOA. Now, the complaint details how Thompson, a known threat to the community, was allowed to roam freely with his weapons, leading to the deaths of 5 individuals and serious injury to others. That's what the Howard Stallings law firm said in the statement. Austin's father, his name is Alan Thompson, pleaded guilty last month to keeping a loaded gun on his nightstand that was used in the shooting. Family attorneys claimed the parents had no idea their son had violent tendencies, no idea at all, even though everybody in the damn HOA knew the son had violent tendencies. And it's actually part of their report to the HOA. The lawsuit alleges that the father-son pair would brag about the number of weapons they possessed and shared wishes to own even more guns. Search warrants revealed that police seized at least 10 guns and a large amount of ammunition from the Thompsons' home. Thompson allegedly used a shotgun, a handgun, a large hunting knife for the incident. After the killing spree, authorities said he fled and hid in a shed about a mile away from the neighborhood. During a standoff with officers, he decided to off himself and was rushed to a hospital with crucial injuries, but he survived. He will be tried as an adult for murder, attempted murder, and assault with a deadly weapon, intent to kill, and inflicting serious bodily injury. His trial is set to take place September 2023. 25, we will be covering, bring you updates of that trial. Parents have no idea, right? Okay. So if you really did not have an idea and all of these complaints are happening about your own child, you're a horrible parent. If you did have an idea and you did nothing, you're still a horrible parent. It doesn't matter which one it is. Okay. This culture of guns in the United States of America has aided in the disaster and carnage that you see. He's 15 during the time. Whatever he was planning or whatever day he had, whatever bad day or bad week or bad month or bad year, eventually it passes. He's 15. But see, he had access to guns. He was encouraged to use guns. His dad created a culture, according to his own guilty plea, that aided in his fascination with guns. What if he could not get his hands on a gun? A few years later, that 15-year-old is now 18, 19. He's not thinking like he was thinking when he was 15. Thank God he didn't have access to a gun, but he did have access to guns. So much so that the father decided not to even lock his own weapon somewhere safe, knowing of his tendencies. My dear brother, these kind of stories, they really piss me off. And the reason is because it's emotion of a very young person who obviously is polarized to the negative for whatever reason. And then it's the parents giving him access to commit murder because of their fascination with gun culture. What say you?
It's heartbreaking. It's causes you hopelessness. I was actually just in Raleigh doing stand up, and while I was there,
Wow.
there was a baseball tournament for some teenagers, and my friends were actually had flown to California from California to Raleigh for their son to participate in this tournament, and he was 15. And in my mind, I'm thinking this 15-year-old that went on a shooting spree should have been part of that. He should have been part of
Yeah.
some sports activity, something else, something 15-year-olds should be doing in a positive way. And to your point, if this 15-year-old did not have access to guns, maybe he lashes out, because I think one of the victims was his brother. Maybe he lashes out and gets in a fight with his brother, and then he gets counseling. But unfortunately, we have so much access to guns, such easy access to guns, such glamorization of guns, that this story is not the last time we're going to hear about this. I mean, everyone points to in Australia when they had their last mass shooting, and they really clamped down on access to guns, and they haven't had a mass shooting since. Or in this case, you talk about this force that was supposed to help them. That's the argument that's always made from the other side. You know, who's going to stop a bad guy with a gun? A good guy with a gun. We saw it did not happen in this case. It did not happen in Uvalde, Texas. It's not that easy. This is not a movie. This is not Jason, the Bourne Identity, where you get in there and take the bad guy out. And by the way, the bad guy is a complicated situation as well. This is a 15-year-old who's got trouble. He's got some mental health issues, and we should be helping this young man to not get to this point. Why does this young man have such hate for others? Why is he racist? What's going on? And so it's very unfortunate. It's heartbreaking. The victims, the female 52-year-old African American woman that died there. I'm 52, and you think to yourself, hey, I'm taking care of myself. I'm living my life. I'm just walking down the street, and someone shows up with a gun and decides to take out your life. And not only does it affect you, it affects all those around you and any family that you might have. So this is heartbreaking, and it's just, the reason I say it's hopeless is because it feels like even when things like this happens, there's a part of this country that does not want to do anything about it, especially in the Republican Congress. And again, when we see something like the Newtown shootings, or we see something like Uvalde shootings, and you think, okay, this is the one that's going to do it, and it doesn't. And so I don't know. I really don't know what the solution is. But again, to your point, we got to keep putting the pressure on. We got to keep our eyes on this. And I think it's a great thing that they are actually, going after the parents. Maybe if we go after enough parents, they start smartening up and doing something about it, rather than providing guns to their kids.
That's right. And unfortunately, they have to spend their own money, hire their own attorneys in order to sue them civilly because the laws are pretty weak when it comes to holding parents accountable. Correlation and causation. If you have less guns available, you get less shootings. We know this as a fact. Republicans do believe in less guns because they sponsor gun buyback programs in neighborhoods, or what they will call them hoods, across America. So they want to disarm the hood with less guns because they realize less guns, less gun crimes. But for some reason, it just doesn't apply to them. All right. A funeral home. Imagine this, a funeral home sent the casket with your mother's body to the wrong country. Put it up. This is sad but true. A New York family is now suing Rivera Rivers Funeral Home, alleging workers sent the casket containing the body of the 96-year-old mother, Carmen Maldonado, to the wrong country to be buried, which the family learned via TikTok from a journalist posting about the mistake in Guatemala. Miss Carmen Maldonado's wish was to be buried next to her husband in Ecuador. The complaint outlines the allegations that occurred after Miss Carmen died on May 18th in New York. 2 days later, her children entered into a contract with the funeral home regarding the disposition of the remains of their mother to be laid to rest in Ecuador. Now remember, they're on day 2, okay? I lost my mother a couple of years ago. You have to get in, we just got to get this done mode, okay? You have to categorize things, get stuff accomplished. You get to grieve later. Your children, you have to do this part. So they do it. So on May 26th, the funeral home decided to carelessly send the body to the wrong country. And then they failed to advise the family of the error. Court documents said that they decided not to properly advise them. Ms. Carmen's children were, quote, horrified, saddened, sickened, dismayed when they learned about it. Her body remained in Guatemala from May 26th through June 10th, when the son had to go and get it, had to recover it. By that time, Rizzuto said her remains were gone. They were badly decomposed. Quote, the hands of the body, the skin was falling off, so they had to wrap them in saran wrap to his mother. When the family posed the question, put them up, to the funeral home about the mix-up, they claimed the funeral home denied the whole thing. Now the family is suing the funeral home and the company that owns it. Quote, they tried to cover it up, and there is no excuse for that. And if the family did not see this on TikTok and confront them, the funeral home would have never told them, according to the attorney who's pictured. This is not the first time the funeral home, which operates in the primarily Spanish-speaking community in the Bronx and in Manhattan and in Brooklyn, has been a subject of controversy. The New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, DCWP, secured over $600,000 for consumers that were actually harmed by this same funeral home. Now, here's the issue I have. If the government has fined you $600,000 and you are a business that provides a service like this to the community, why do you still have a damn license as a funeral home director? How does this happen? That license is not easy to come by. There's more. The settlement stemmed from a lawsuit the DCWP filed against R.G. Ortiz for egregious violations. What does egregious typically mean? It typically means you do it and you don't give a damn about repairing it, because the egregious part is not the mistake, it's your failure to remedy the mistake. There's more. Egregious violation of the city's consumer protection law, including refusing to provide information regarding the whereabouts of loved one remains, misrepresenting or concealing the prices of services offered, failing to provide service that consumers paid for, in part because they routinely presented remains in unacceptable condition. In one case, someone reported a loved one's body emitted a terrible smell. The body appeared to already be visibly decomposing. Another funeral home customer reported that when she arrived for her grandson's viewing, this is the grandmother, his remains were leaking liquid. The wax on his skin appeared to be melting, and the body appeared to be in a state of decomposition. The experience was even more extreme, as one of her grandson's eyes would not stay shut, constantly opening and moving throughout the viewing. The document said, listen, regardless of your faith background, when somebody you love dies, obviously it creates an emotionally charged atmosphere of a lot of different expressions of feelings, okay? And you can feel these things in fluxes. To have that emotional roller coaster happening with you that day, that week, that month, and then these individuals are the ones mishandling the person's body that you simply would like to lay to rest, because what you're trying to lay to rest is your peace. They made theirs. They're not here anymore. They passed on to the other evolution. But you are trying to find peace. All right. I remember, dear brother, when a funeral home owner years ago did something really egregious and manipulated the system, had ashes sent to people that weren't even their parents or their loved ones. And he had, when he went to prison, went to trial, he had to wear a bulletproof vest because people wanted to kill him. What say you?
I mean, listen, first of all, I'm a comedian. This sounds like a really bad plot for like a Weekend at Bernie's type of a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, that's what I'm thinking. But secondly, absolutely tragic. And thirdly, I'll be honest with you, before I even get into that, I had wanted to be cremated, and now I definitely want to be cremated because, to your point, then nobody knows if it's me or not. But this is, I've gone through, having to bury loved ones, and to your point, that first, time period after they pass, you're just trying to get it done, and you're spending money, by the way. It's not like this was a free project, and it's not like this is a human being that you're getting wrong and sending to the wrong place. It's not like you're at Starbucks and they give you the wrong coffee. This is something serious and deep. And to your point, how does this business stay in business? I always function under the assumption that the businesses that I see, or if I'm looking at a government official, that they're competent, that they're actually doing stuff. And it's constant where we see people doing things that are unscrupulous like this and getting away with it and continuing to get away with it. I'm reminded of the George Santos situation, where somehow he ended up in Congress having done all of that fraud. And so this company, this funeral home, somehow, after having that, because you just listed off, it wasn't the first time they made this mistake. They continue to egregiously make mistakes like this, and they're somehow in business. How are they in business? And furthermore, geez, I guess like you really should read the Yelp reviews and whatnot before you call a funeral home, because you really want to make sure that they did a good job before you get involved with them. Because to what you just read, these guys have continuously messed it up. Why haven't they been shut down? Unbelievable, and tragic.
Yeah, they seem to be a top paying client to the government. That's why they haven't been shut down. They pay up the fees. And at the end of the day, it seems like that's what the entity would prefer, you to pay money to them rather than be regulated and closed down. which would actually protect consumers. All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Maj, you got something big coming up. Tell everyone about it.
Oh yeah, I'm just on tour. So if you guys are anywhere, all over the country, all over the world, I'm going to be in San Jose this coming weekend. I'm going to be taping my next comedy special at the San Jose Improv. So if you're in the Bay Area, come join me. I'll be in Chicago, I'll be in Minnesota, and then I'm going to be in Europe. I'll be in Paris,
Wow.
London, Sweden, Norway. If you're in Europe, find me. It's all at mazjobrani.com. Come check it out. Let's have some laughs.
I love it, man. And obviously, I encourage everyone, if you can make it go, you will have a blast. Very funny, man, and brilliant. Okay. I got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Sir, excuse me, you must sign in.
What's that?
You must sign in.
What is it?
You have to sign in for town meeting. Either you're a registered voter, you can sign in with the poll pad, or you're a visitor and you have to sign in using a visitor pass.
You have to sign something to go to a public meeting?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No thanks.
It's the law.
It's not the law.
Oh, she's snitching. She's snitching.
Hey, excuse me. You need to sign in as a visitor, please. You can't be in this area.
No, it's a public meeting. It's a public area. Please leave me alone.
You have.
Can you please leave me alone?
You have to sign
I'm
in.
trying to,
as a
ma'am, I'm trying to work here.
Excuse me. I am working here
Can you
also.
stop? I'm trying to work.
I am working here also.
Okay, go up there and work.
No, you go out right now.
It's a public
You have to-
meeting,
you-
open to the public. I don't have
You
to.
have to sign
I don't
in
have
in
to
order to
sign
be in this
anything.
room, and you have to sit up front so
I don't
that
have
you
to
do
sign
not vote.
anything. I don't have to sign anything. It's a public meeting.
I will get.
How many Karens do you all have in your community? It was just one Karen. There's actually more. Here it is.
Ooh, she's snitching too. She's snitching too.
Hi, are you folks here, you citizens of the town? Residents of the town?
What's that?
Are you a resident of the town?
Did you? I'm sorry, what's that?
Are you a resident of the
Oh,
town?
I don't answer questions. Thank you, though.
Okay.
If anybody can speak.
No.
Yes.
No.
You might want to check up on the law because
Well,
you're about to land yourself a lawsuit tonight. So
No,
go check
you
it. Go talk to your lawyer.
registered voters can be recognized. Okay.
Go talk to your lawyer, sweetheart.
Shh. That was hilarious. So let's put up the picture full mass here. These are the community individuals who decided to engage in a significant moment of Karenicity. I don't understand when one of the Karens said, well, it's the law. The law is requiring you to sign a piece of paper to go to a public meeting in your city. It doesn't make sense. Sounds like if that is the law, you're violating the law. Likely it is not a law. It is an administrative rule or a Karen rule. Those are the ones that are made up. And no, you do not need to sign. Now, can they ask you? Yes. We've actually had these issues in Metro Atlanta. What's the prerequisite for public engagement? Can they limit you to a particular amount of time? All of these have been battles with city government. I have never heard that you can't come to the meeting before signing in. That doesn't make sense. Maybe he doesn't want the government tracking him. He has a right to that. All right, brother, I don't understand exactly how all these Karens were on the same frequency. But I need that brother to run because obviously this is a community full of Karens and they have plenty more to go.
Well, we call that a gaggle of Karens, you see.
That's right.
Two Karens and a Kevin. Yeah, man, it's mind blowing to me. I personally am very un-Karen-esque. I tend to be the guy who, you know, if somebody even cuts in line, I tend to just kind of either let them do it, or if I want to say something, I do it in a nice way. But I guess these people just feel emboldened. And I like the fact that that guy just kept making fun of them and kept filming them. And I'd love to find out what happened at the rest of the meeting. I'm sure that they were just boiling and steaming. I imagine steam coming out of their ears as he just sat there filming the whole meeting. And you know, it reminds me of when you go to an open house, they have a little sign up sheet, the real estate agent, and they'll say, please sign up, you know, and I can say, no, I'm good, or I go do it. And similarly in this case, the guy said, no, I don't want to do it. And then of course they kept bringing in more and more people. It's just fun and funny to watch Karens get all Karen-y.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that there's cameras nowadays to show all of these Karens. It's a lighter and needed entertainment that we all need when we see Karens losing it and somebody just keeping their cool right in their face. It's very fulfilling.
And it provides an important PSA to those who are would-be Karens in this world. There you go. All right. Trump decides to mock a woman escorted from a rally violently. And ironically, Fox News pushed back on his ridiculous tax plan. So let me go to the rally first. Here it is.
Back home to mommy. She goes back home to mommy. Was that you, darling? And then she gets the hell knocked out of her. Her mother's a big fan of ours. You know that, right? Her father, her mother.
Producers, I'm going to ask you to play this clip again. And when we go back to it, let me put it this way. If Joe Biden would have said anything close to that at an official presidential campaign speech, I think about 90% of Democrats would once again say mental decline. 100% Republicans, mental decline. Trump says it while sounding like he just had a 6-pack of beer. He says it, that's just Trump being Trump. Listen again.
Back home to mommy. She goes back home to mommy. Was that you, darling? And then she gets the hell knocked out of her. Her mother's a big fan of ours. You know that, right? Her father, her mother.
He don't know these people. This man has made up an entire fictional family. He don't know her. He don't know the mama. He don't know the daddy, but he hopes that she gets physically assaulted. Why? Because she dared to express her freedom to disagree. See, this is his bias. This is his mind. He's small. And so in order for him to be president during those 4 years, he could not expand himself to the capacity of that institution, that office. He had to shrink it to fit him. And after he decided to shrink it to fit him, he then decided, well, the Republican Party I can't rise to even their ridiculously low level. So he had to shrink that to fit him. And he is shrinking the minds of those who follow him because he is no deity. He is no Messiah. He is barely a man. Now, the woman, put it up, the woman was actually thrown out of the rally after heckling Trump. This is common on the political landscape. This is not the first time he's condoned actual violence. Here's a reminder of a few instances over the years.
Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it. In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again. So, the fighting myself or if other people will?
Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
You're not about that life, Trump. I haven't seen you throw a lick on anyone. You've been disrespected plenty of times, sir. You talk big and bad when you have a microphone. You're an alleged billionaire from New York, live in Sunnyside, Florida. But you want people to be violent against women who disagree with you, against activists who are noble in heart because they believe in something. You believe in nothing. You want them to be attacked violently. Just like you animated people to go to the Capitol, hoping that they will create so much chaos it created a constitutional crisis, giving you more power to just make rules up. All right. Now, in an irony, Fox News literally confronted Trump on his tariff tax plan. Here it is.
It's because you've said you want to eliminate taxes on tips, eliminate taxes on Social Security, on overtime pay, ending the double taxation of Americans living abroad, a proposal to make car loans interest tax deductible.
That was said.
You said that in Detroit. You even introduced this 15% corporate tax rate for companies who produce in America and hire American workers. But how will you pay for it? The Committee for a Responsible Budget says your plans will increase the debt by $7.5 trillion.
But they don't know that.
The Wall Street Journal said that your plans will increase the debt and deficits more than Kamala Harris's.
They don't know that. They're just talking. They don't know that. Trump can't answer questions. We saw that in his last debate. He doesn't know anything. Here's reality. It kind of sounds good until you realize a few things. He's a con artist. He's lying to you. He's selling you a lemon. Number one. Number two, the interest of his billionaire friends like Elon Musk would be top of the agenda. I guarantee you, he's not going to create or enact policies or even advocate for them if he falls out of the good graces with those who fund his campaign, the Republican Party, and by the way, his lawyers. You understand? He isn't really paying for his lawyers. He's creating community contacts with billionaires who now are part of the MAGA crowd because they finally purchased them an American president, is what they hope. All right, Mars, thoughts here.
Well, going back to that person being kicked out of the rally, he famously in one of his rallies said he wants to be the protector of women. Right. He was trying to win over the woman vote because he realized that having turned over Roe versus Wade, he'd lost a lot of women. So he said, I want to be the protector of women. And here he is saying, I hope that woman goes home and gets a beating. Here he is, a guy who's been convicted of sexual assault on a woman. Here he is, a guy who had that tape come out where he said he wants to grab women wherever that they wanted to grab women. He does not care about women. He's a very disrespectful man towards women. He's a misogynist. And any woman who believes that this guy actually cares about them or wants them to prosper and do well, I have a daughter. I would never, ever, ever let her near somebody like this, because this is a bad human being that is a narcissist, does not care about women, does not care about those people in his own rally, and does not care about democracy. Because if you care about democracy, you do what we've seen. I believe it was Obama at a rally where somebody was yelling or protesting, and then his crowd started booing, and Obama said, no, he has the right to say what's on his mind. I'm a stand-up comedian. I've had Trump supporters at my shows get upset when I got into some Trump jokes, and I went out of my way to tell my crowd to calm down and say, this is the beauty of this country. We can have different opinions. And so similarly, okay, if that lady were acting somehow out of order, then maybe there's a point where you go, hey, listen, they're going to escort you out if you keep doing this. And or let the authorities do what they got to do. But you don't turn around and say, I hope she goes home and gets smacked. That shows you the misogynist. That shows you the person who does not respect democracy. And also, if you combine this whole thing with it is unbelievable how he gets away with total nonsense. And once again, I know that he has a big contingency of non-college educated base, and maybe they buy it. But the fact that there's those that are educated and can read between the lines of what he's saying with these tariffs, for example, and you come back and you go, look, every educated person has said you're trying to do one thing and you have no way to pay for it. Or even looking at his presidency, when he did that tax cut that he gave to the wealthy before, his presidency was one of the biggest debt-inducing presidencies because of his policies. And so he is not a fiscally responsible person, and yet you have people who claim to be fiscally responsible, supporters of his that are college educated, that continue to turn a blind eye to what he does. And this all culminates, in my mind, we're all waiting for an October surprise. There's no longer any October surprises because this guy has broken all the norms. What could you say about him that would be a surprise? We've heard his racist comments. We've heard his sexist comments. We've heard his nonsensical comments. We've seen and heard he tried to overthrow democracy, and yet here we are, and his followers continue to make excuses for him. So he's basically gotten rid of the October surprise because there's nothing you could say or do that his followers would turn around and say, oh, now I see the trickster, now I see the charlatan, now I see the narcissist. They're just in it with him no matter what he says, and it's unfortunate.
Well said, and you're right. They aren't going anywhere. He gives a tax plan and provides no explanation for how to pay for it, which means he's fine with passing on the debt, which is accruing interest, to our children and grandchildren so that they can experience economic downfall and crisis. Every single American presidential contender has provided at least a semi-report of revenue coming back somehow, but he's not required to. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable stick and stay. All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. Lynn says, so nice to see Maz again. I enjoy listening to his perspectives. That's correct. A brilliant person and a good guy. Dragon. Frustrating feed today. I'll watch later. It's time for Dodger baseball. Yeah, I definitely get that. Some things are triggering in ways to me, and obviously my production team, and it's tough. But we do know that for the people who are experiencing the issue, is much tougher for them. CDE 71954. This is so crazy. It could have been worse. Imagine if the coffin had been sent to North Korea or Cuba, they would have never gotten the coffin back. Never. Lynn says, perhaps a group of Karens should be called an aggravation of Karens. Brent Carter and friends, thank you for all that you do. Keep up the great work, brother. Iron sharpens iron. All right, we appreciate you. Keisha T, R.I.P. to Wanda Smith. I grew up listening to her voice every morning. My condolences go out to her family and friends. Yeah, so Wanda was a very good friend of mine as well. And I'm going to provide some commentary about Wanda during the closing of the program. One of the most beautiful spirits you would have ever met. Thank you for that. And Lady F&T, member for 15 months, double doser. Pure insanity. Thank God no one was in the building talking about the fire, although it probably would not have changed the investigation. You make a great point. Perry Anderson, yep, that's right. He says, no guns at the RNC for some strange reason too. Yeah, Republicans are good with saying no to guns in particular circumstances. All right, a Black executive wins a settlement after being racially profiled by the police. This guy got suspended for 2 years from his job over absolutely nothing. Put up the picture for a mask. This is an extreme story. The British Metropolitan Police, they have now settled a major lawsuit filed by an executive. His name is Dale Semper. Dale was falsely accused in a gun-related criminal case. He's a major executive. They accuse him of criminal conduct resulting in a 2-year suspension from his job at Lloyd's Bank that paid him $90,000 a year. The settlement stems from an alleged racial profiling incident in which Dale was pulled over by the police, August 2017, while driving his partner, Denise Huggan, to a nearby train station. Dale was placed in handcuffs and driven back to his house, where his property was then searched, causing an embarrassment scene in front of his neighbors. Officers ransacked his car and his home, looking for firearms, but ultimately came up empty-handed. Police also searched the homes the homes of his partner and mother. Making matters worse, when no firearms were discovered, police shifted their focus and accused Dale. He must be money laundering. Law enforcement officials then decided to contact the bank where Dale worked and told the bank, accusing him of being connected to human trafficking. It gets worse. Preliminary hearing. High Court revealed that Dale Semper experienced significant trauma, enduring 2 years of stress and anxiety while being investigated for suspected involvement in gun running and other things he was never involved in. As the criminal probe unfolded over the next 2 years, Dale had his world turned upside down, obviously, putting his career and livelihood on the line through no fault of his own. Dale explained that his bank accounts were then frozen during the investigation. He was ultimately cleared of the criminal charges in 2019. Remember, this happened in 2017. No further action was taken by the police. He was even later reinstated to his job. You come on back. Dale can come back. Dale was suspended for 2 years. It happened in 2017, this 2019. However, the damage was done. And his name and reputation was in ruins. Soon thereafter, Dale decided he's going to hire an attorney. He filed a $1.3 million damages claim against the Metropolitan Police. Bold move, but it worked. Because there, typically, some of these high court rules are different. But he alleged racial discrimination, false imprisonment, malicious prosecution, misfeasance, and breach of data protection. Scotland Yard announced on October 1st that it had settled the claim before Dale's lawsuit went to trial. The specifics of the settlement, including the amount paid to him, were not disclosed, part of a mutual agreement put up the Deputy Assistant Commissioner. Stuart Condy confirmed the settlement in a statement, acknowledging some mishandling by police during the investigation. Quote, "We stand by the necessity to act following information that was received. But except some elements of this case were not handled as well as they could have been, and we apologize for the impact that has had on the complainants," he wrote. Yeah. The reality is, old Stewie, he's lying. He's covering for the police because mishandling is cause and effect based on a mistake, maybe some negligence. So this guy goes from guns to money laundering to human trafficking. And there's not one iota of proof he did anything. The cops knew when they called the bank and said this, he likely is going to get his accounts frozen. This is your prerequisite. It's like a narrative to harm him because they had created a significant issue with the first mistake. And so they try to ruin him with the follow-up mistakes. Now, these aren't mistakes anymore. If the first one was even a mistake at that, now you're intentional. All right, just my hypothesis. All right, my thoughts here. You're on mute, brother.
Sorry, okay. I was saying I don't know the rules in England, but I'm under the assumption that if you want to charge somebody, you have to have some proof, some case before you go and get that person and arrest that person. That's why it takes so long for, the FBI when they were going after the mob or some of these big cases that they bring. You got to have that evidence. And to me, it goes back to a comment I made earlier where I assume, we assume that people doing their jobs are competent, that someone who is at a level of authority is competent. I was talking to a former FBI counterterrorism expert who was telling me about how he learned de-escalation and how because of that, he never had to use his gun because he always learned how to de-escalate any kind of situation. And he was saying how a lot of police departments around the country in America don't have the resources to teach de-escalation to the level that they need to. And so similarly, we're in a situation where they go after this gentleman and it feels like Keystone Cops. They didn't have anything. It took 2 years. It takes 2 years. And by the way, when you approach somebody, if you know that the person is a known, let's say, killer or part of the cartel and might be dangerous and you're going to take them down and you come in ready in case there's going to be a shootout, you're ready for that situation. But this gentleman, as we found out here, he was just, they ransacked his car and his home and they're just looking for one thing and looking for another thing. So I'm happy he won his settlement, but too little too late, man. The guy's life was ruined for 2 years.
Yeah, and you made a great point about, there has to be evidence. So instead of evidence, they just kept him under investigation and made sure everybody around him was aware he was under investigation for extreme criminal felonies. All right. Our dear sister, A.B. Burns, remember, guest of the program, beautiful human being. She calls out the delayed release of her brother. We've talked about her motivation for going to law school. It was because of her brother's incarceration. Now, I want to play her words here. Here it is.
Okay, so boom, I hate to ruin the surprise for y'all, but I need y'all help because these people playing games right now. My brother Brandon was ordered released from prison on September 13th of 2024. It's October 13th of 2024 and he is still incarcerated. And so I'm not sure who we need to tweet, beep, email, call, DM, or whatever, but I need someone to please push that release button today. Okay, the judge ordered him released from prison and he is still incarcerated. And I don't think that that's right. And Governor Gavin Newsom, I'm going to call you out right now because you are the governor of California and because I approached you at the DNC, shook your hand, looked you dead in your face and said, hey, I've been studying your prison systems for the last 17 years. I have been trying to get my brother out of prison and it has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I want to know from you what you're doing about your prison system and how can you and I talk and work to figure out some ways to help your prison system.
Now, sometimes judge makes the order, jail is a little late, maybe 12 hours, goes into the next day. So I made sure our production team checked today to see if the brother was released. No, still not released at that time. Okay. Here's the second video.
You looked me dead in my face and said we're doing a lot. Okay, well, Governor Gavin Newsom, let me be very clear that if you don't have staff available at a prison system to push a button to release a man who has been ordered free, then you're not doing enough. And I am here. No one probably knows your prison systems better than me from an outsider perspective. I have visited more of those prisons than probably any California governor ever. And I know you all like to go to San Quentin, but San Quentin is the anomaly. Try Kern Valley, try Corcoran, try RJ Donovan. But until then, who can we get to push the button today? Thank you.
The story is so fascinating. She did complete her JD once again. Congratulations to her. It is confirmed he's still in prison. A.B. Burns Tucker watched as her brother was sentenced. Her brother Brandon was convicted of murder as a teenager. He was sentenced to 50 years to life and convicted based on a law that lets the state prosecute everyone who was, quote, in on it. Okay? A crime or knew a crime was happening. So A.B. Burns Tucker did something quite amazing. When she realized this extreme injustice had been done to her brother, she said, I'm going to change the system from inside. So she decided to enroll at Southwestern Law School to become a lawyer and to get her brother home and to help advocate and release the other captives of this injustice system. She graduates, gets her JD. Her brother is being released by way of court order from a judge, but for some reason, he's not out. So for those of you who care about the justice system at least doing what they said they will do, there's a court order. Who violates a court order to release somebody? Be an advocate to make sure that her brother is released immediately. A.B. Burns did give us an exclusive statement. Let's put it up. She says, I can only say that Brandon has suffered long enough. Unless you've been behind those prison walls fighting for your life or trying to maintain a sense of safety, you can't truly understand how unjust it is to keep someone captive after they've been ordered released. 17 years ago, Brandon was stolen from my mom and our family. The court has now decided he gets to come home and he needs to be released. In any other situation or profession, this level of negligence or dereliction of duty would never be acceptable. We shouldn't accept it now. That's right. That's right. You know why? Because we look at those who have been incarcerated as somehow less than human. How dare you? How dare us? We advocate for the humanity that exists in all of us. All right, we're going to stay on top of this. Moss, it's a hell of a thing, man. Hopefully something happens this week to make sure he's released.
Kudos to AB for doing what she did. And
yes.
Now you got to think, when you see this, you go, well, she's somebody who has gone to law school, gone a law degree, has the ability to advocate for her brother like this. And then you got to ask yourself, how many others are there that are going through something like this? How many other people don't have the means or an AB in their life to put this up on the top of the list of someone like Governor Newsom? So that's what I think right away. I think that this is something that's part of that prison industrial complex. This is something that is the incompetence that we see, where we think that our systems are actually competent, but they really are not. And she is changing the destiny of many people by pointing this out, and you know, we can only hope that that we move towards some reform so that others don't end up like her brother.
That's right. Very well said. And naturally, she's a motivation to me and so many. You transform your mess, whatever you've gone through, into your message. And I've said to my students, your message is typically your mess with age on it. Figure out what you've been through and become an advocate to make sure that you can remedy the problem for others. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. All right, welcome back. Lot of show left. Let me read a couple of comments. It's Just Vegas says, guilty by association. Yep, they used to try that a lot, especially back then. I mean, they violated young folk up and down the criminal justice system. Agnostic sister. Sounds like this business should not be operating any longer. Talking about the funeral home. That's right. Exactly. The government agrees, except if they get their money. All right. And then, you know, everything's okay between them. All right. Got a question for you. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
We just have to address the elephant in the room. We're getting a lot of texts from women about Miller and his appearances and his appearance. Our audience at primetime believes you're some sort of sexual matador. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, let me give advice to any young man that's out there. I'm married now, I have children, but I wasn't married that long ago. I was single, I was in the market. If you're a young man, it's very important in election season, who's looking to impress ladies, to be the alpha, to be attractive. The best thing you can do is to wear your Trump support on your sleeve. Show that you are a real man. Show that you are not a beta, right? Be a proud and loud Trump supporter, and your dating life will be fantastic.
I cannot wait to see the text tonight.
Earth is not a real place. Can't be. We are obviously in this simulation. Put it up full mass. The hell is going on? According to Fox News, the prime time Fox audience believes this man, former Trump senior advisor Stephen Miller, is a sexual matador. And then instead of doing the human thing, which is to, you know, I guess, be humble about a compliment, he proceeds to give, I guess, the men who watch Fox News advice on how to impress the ladies themselves. Put up the picture again, please. I normally don't do this. Stephen, you look like Pee Wee Herman past his prime. I don't understand how we're in the same universe, sir. All right, Miles, come on, man. Brother, you gotta use that clip, some new material coming up, man.
I gotta admit, I threw up. I threw up in my mouth when I saw them say that comment. No, he's the most like unsexual human being, yes, asexual, whatever you want to call that. I'm a bald guy. I always defend bald guys, right, but I can't defend this bald guy. There's some bald guys who got game, and I'm always like, hey man, like, you know, if they come to my show, sometimes there's a bald dude in my show with a beautiful woman. I go, look guys, we don't need hair. Look at this guy with his beautiful wife or girlfriend or whatever. Stephen Miller does not fall into that at all. He is just cringeworthy, and yeah, I don't claim him. You know, I like to say bald and beautiful, but he does not fall into that. Neither facially, nor the aura that he gives off, nor from the inside. Really, just an ugly human being from the inside. And so that I think takes away from any kind of
that's right,
game that guy might have had. Like I can imagine that guy at like a bar, you know, going up to some ladies and trying to talk, and like within 2 words they're walking away because he's just he's an unlikable human being with a dark heart. So yeah, I think they you know, they say Fox News is fake news. That's the most fake news I've seen them report in a long time.
Yeah, and they obviously believe lies, and you know. Anyway, hell of a thing. Okay. I'm very sad. It saddens me to do this segment, but she deserves it, more than deserves it. Atlanta radio host, remarkable woman, brought a lot of light to the world, and a dear friend. Comedian Wanda Smith passed away, 58 years of age. I want you to see this smile. All right. Wanda Smith is an icon in Atlanta and beyond. She passed away at 58. She celebrated her birthday the day before. The exact cause of death has not been disclosed publicly. Her former station, V103, confirmed the heartbreaking news this past weekend. Wanda and I worked together for years. V103 WAOK radio. Met her family, children. Every morning for years, my first face that I saw at work was Wanda Smith. V103's Senior Vice President, Rick Caffey, expressed the station's condolences in an Instagram post upon the news of her unexpected passing. Quote, "Our hearts are weighing heavier today as we grieve the loss of our beloved Wanda Smith, someone who always made us smile and who was a big part of V103 for years," wrote Caffey. "We extend our deepest prayers and condolences to her family." He added, "In her role at V103 dating back to 1997, Wanda Smith brought so much joy and care servicing the Atlanta community. Wanda's impact touched lives beyond making us laugh. Many times she championed efforts behind the scenes to make a difference in the lives of those who were without." Smith, a Miami native, became a beloved figure in Atlanta for her role as co-host of Frank and Wanda in the Morning on V103, where she worked from 1998 to 2012. She later teamed up with Ryan Cameron, both Frank Ski and Ryan Cameron, also radio icons, from 2014 to early 2018, before reunited with Frank Ski for another run at V103. Wanda was courteous, nice, a beautiful soul, a beautiful spirit, not because she had to be, but because she wanted to be. Our prayers, our thoughts, our positive vibrations are with her husband and the children. I cannot imagine what they are going through. She was the linchpin for them all. Rest in power, dear sister. All right. You know the circuit, dear brother, when there's somebody who you have worked with in the industry, especially somebody who has a lot of life, right? The last thing you expect is to get a report or a text that they've passed away. It reminds us of how valuable and vulnerable this thing called life can be.
Amen. My deepest condolences to her. I did not know her personally, but I have lost people close to me. And as you said, when we lose comedians in our community, we are reminded the light that they brought us, the happiness they brought us, the laughter they brought us, and we're reminded to be good to others. Do what they were doing. You know, be good, be kind, hold the door open. If you can put a smile on someone's face, do that. And again, my condolences to her, to her family, to you, and there's not much one can say.
Thank you, dear brother. It has been a pleasure having you on the show and your analysis, breaking down these stories with me today. Tell the audience how they can follow you and continue to check out your great work.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm across the board at Maz Jobrani, MazJobrani. I'll be touring. MazJobrani.com is a website with all the dates. And I have specials. There's actually a special on YouTube called The Birds and the Bees. I got a Netflix special. Just put my name in, Maz Jobrani, and a ton of clips will come up. I hope you watch it. Hope you enjoy it. And then come out and have a laugh at a live show with me.
There you go. Thank you for all you do, brother. I can't wait to have you back.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.